God, I probably wrote this art talk at least 4 separate times, with each version feeling equally as stale, stupid, and just as bad as the last. I hate them, and I hate this one just as much. Usually by this point, I would have just shut my laptop for good and prayed my ignorance would transform into bliss. But each time I'd go to close this godforsaken Google Doc, I couldn't. I just couldn't. I think there's something in me, like in everyone, that needs to be heard. Throughout my 3 years in this program, this need has intensified, but I have nothing much to offer. I'm not good at writing, I'm not good at math, I barely have any calluses on my hands to call myself a real man. So I'm left with my art, the last bit of hope I have to say something. But nothing is ever enough, and the grass is always greener on the other side. My work never felt sophisticated enough or contemporary enough, so to me the only solution was to be as analytical as possible. Try and analyze and break down what I saw in front of me. So I focused on the body. Eventually, I started seeing those around me less as people and loved ones, and more as just bodies, composed of parts working together as a system, interacting with other bodies that are composed of parts that work together as systems. These bodies, systems, whatever, interacted like bees in a hive, something unspoken, just a rubbing of wings to a buzzing I would never understand. The body speaks a universal language, understood by all given the right context. And to quote Nicholas Mirzoff, communications professor at NYU, the body is at once the final point of resistance to the global imperatives of postmodernism, and the first to be affected by them. Every assumption, expression, action starts with the body. In a way, the body goes from being the subject to being a translative expression. Think of a furrowed brow or shoulders hung low. Nothing is ever random. These are translations of an internal state into a physical state. From proximity or rhythm, tension or gesture, our bodies are constantly translating. But translation is never linear. And as the saying goes, things do get lost in translation. When I first started thinking about translation, I would compare my experiences helping my mother, immigrant from Brazil, with translating words from English into Portuguese and vice versa. Taking one idea in English, transforming it into Portuguese. But as I got older, I started thinking more about the translations of the word that I was giving to my mother. The more I felt like my translations were inauthentic. I'll give an example. My mother once asked how I translate the word saudade. When I was younger, I simply told her that it just meant to miss someone. But even then, that translation didn't sit right with me. Saudade is much more complicated than just missing something. It's almost like a state of grief for something that isn't there, that isn't physical. You can miss a canceled TV show or discontinued Pop-Tart flavor, that one shirt you lent to a friend a while ago. But saudade carries this weight, an importance to it that should be reserved for something much more profound. Saudade is anguish in your chest or the presence of something, someone, no longer there, specific to that absence of physicality. If I were to translate saudade into English, I'd settle with grief. But then again, I'd be hesitant to use this translation, as the word grief is mostly associated with death, and saudade isn't solely for death. Saudade encompasses much more than just that. So, to achieve an accurate translation, I guess, would be changing the form of the principle, not the word associated with said principle. Change the form, not the function. So now I'm stuck wondering that if the body is a sort of translator, a communicator, is it an accurate translator? Is it an accurate form of expression? Our form, the body, is limited by skin and bones, meaning accurate translation is only possible to a certain extent. But again, the body is at the center of who we are in our societies. So if bodily translation, expression, isn't accurate, we are surrounded by misinterpretation. Thank you.